This video is brought to you by Squarespace, my favorite website builder. In Stockholm, where I live, there has been 0 hours of sun in the last 30 days. So my brand new Samyang 135mm f2 manual focus prime lens that I got really cheaply on Black Friday has just been sitting on the shelf for a while now. But today I said, F it, let's take it out. I went out at 2 PM, which means that I would just have 1 hour for a quick photo walk before it would be completely dark here in Sweden at 3 PM. Welcome to the Nordic winter. I actually owned this lens a couple of years ago, and I remember it as one of the most enjoyable to use telephoto lenses I have ever tried. I sold it though to get an autofocus 135mm. The Samyang is manual focus, and at f2 the depth of field is razor thin, so you tend to miss a lot of photos. But when you do nail the focus, oh boy is this lens sharp. Even if the manual focus process with this lens is far from efficient or practical, I think it is a big part of what makes it enjoyable to use. The feeling of control and the awesome feeling of turning the focusing ring and seeing the soft, creamy bokeh take on new shapes and configurations as a real-time reaction to your adjustments of the focusing ring. You don't really get that experience with an autofocus lens. It is hard to describe in words, and YouTube's compression algorithm will destroy the impression of the photos in this video. But when you get home from a photo walk with this lens and zoom in on the details in a photo taken with it, the feeling I get is very close to a feeling of magic. Just pure magic. When I tried this lens now again for the first time in a couple of years, my first reaction to the sharpness was like, wow, I had forgotten my sensor could even make out such details. And this is at all apertures. It is just as sharp at f2 as it is at f8. And 0 other defects in the photos, no chromatic aberration, no other issues. This is a perfect lens. This lens is not only the sharpest lens I've ever used in my life, it also has an extreme amount of microcontrast. Microcontrast is all the very fine details in everything you photograph and how they stand out as sharp and as crispy and as contrasty as they can. All textures such as skin or a rock, they just seem so much more detailed and so much more alive thanks to great microcontrast. And it is very uncommon to see such great microcontrast as I can see in this lens. I think this is also part of what makes me love it so much. The short minimum focusing distance of this lens is another thing that makes me really love it. You get a magnification ratio of 0.25, which is remarkably good for a telephoto lens. You will not get as close as with a macro lens of course, but you will get close. And the max aperture of f2 will get you some incredibly smooth bokeh, especially when you're focusing closely. Can I ask you for a favor? If you like this video, and if you have watched a bunch of my videos before, I would like to ask you to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. As I will soon work on this channel full time, and as I don't sell any stuff, not yet at least, the best way that you can support me is to subscribe to my channel, comment on my videos, and to give them thumbs up. If you can do that, you are a supporter in the fullest sense of the word, and it would really mean the world to me. In return, I will continue to strive even harder to make the best, most inspiring photography videos possible. Thank you so much. Snowberries, a favorite for me to photograph in the winter. I try to get a sky in the background for some nice faded tones. When the sky is not that bright and when it is as grey as it is today, you can actually use that to your advantage to get even softer faded tones in the background. Make sure that the horizon is somewhere in your background, maybe in the middle, and you will get this effect where it kind of fades from brighter to darker and creates a really nice mood and like a color transition from blue to brown. Here you can see the sky in the upper part, and in this photo you can see that the horizon is in the middle behind the cloudberries. For a couple of weeks I have really cursed the grey and dark weather and not done much photography outdoors. But the right thing to do is not to curse the circumstances, but instead try to use them to your advantage. There is beauty also in the dark and grey and moody, if you just go out and really try to capture it. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, which is a tool to build awesome looking websites. This is my portfolio website and I'm really happy with it, and I built it using Squarespace. And one nice thing about it is that it is so fast and easy. It just took me 30 minutes to set up my portfolio website exactly how I wanted it. I just picked a template and then I uploaded my photos and my texts and it was done. And it works perfectly also on a mobile phone. Squarespace have a lot of features. You can easily build a web shop and you can add stuff such as a newsletter without a problem. And it is free to try Squarespace. They have a free trial. You can try it now and discover just how great it is. And then when you discover that you love it as much as I do, you can use my code, Micael Widell, for a 10% discount. Click the link in the description to go there and try it. You will not regret it. Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring. While we are on the subject of advantages of grey, dark weather and short days, it is that it forces me as a photographer out of my comfort zone. I cannot do the kind of photography I normally do. I have to find a new way to make pretty pictures. And that is of course inconvenient at first and kind of annoying. But when your creativity is challenged, that is when you grow. That is when you find new paths in your development as an artist, and in the end, it makes for some of the best photo walks in your life. Most photos in this video I shot at a pretty high ISO, since it was so dark outside. I used ISO 600 in the beginning of the photo walk, and then I ended up with 1000 in ISO. The shutter speed I used was between 100 and 1/250th of a second, depending on how fast the subject moves. Fast moving subjects like ducks walking around, I go for the higher shutter speed. But I cannot afford to go much higher than 1/250th of a second because it is so dark. Then I would have to use a very high ISO and the photo would get too grainy for my taste. If you like manual focus or would like to try it and you love the look of the photos in this video, if you would like the world's most awesome bokeh combined with the sharpest lens you have ever owned, then I can recommend the Samyang 135mm f2 for you. It is also reasonably priced for what it is. I got my copy new for $350 on Black Friday, but usually you have to pay more than that. Usually it goes for maybe $450 to $550 new. But it's definitely worth the money, even at full price. That's it for this video. Please subscribe to my newsletter, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and see you next week in another photography video. Over and out. Bye.